Haven't done an update on my 2018 Sierra, so as for most of my trucks, got lots of light on them, antennas for the radios, and then a switch console. So what I've done on my 18 Sierra here, I've got my forward facing lights attached to power from the headlights, so my driving lights can't come on until the headlights are on, and then that allows the relay to click in. Then my rear cargo lights, which are always on power. Air gauge for my onboard air. I'll show you that in a second. And so power for the compressor, for everything. Push button start to latch in the relay. So I push this once, it latches in the relay for the compressor. There's a pressure switch, so when it hits 140, it clicks off, and then when it drops down to low 100, it clicks on, and then it just keeps doing that until I either shut off the power or shut off the ignition, because this is all an ignition power, and then the actual solenoid for the relay, for the train horn itself, air solenoid. So I'll jump around to the other side, show you my radio setup, and then I'll show you how my onboard air is set up. So what I've done is I mounted a piece of metal inside the trim bezel on here. If you pull this trim bezel off, there's actually a couple mounting holes for nuts. You can see it's just a little bit of a gap here, but that's not noticeable when you're driving. And then I just mounted the radio there, the faceplate. The actual body of the radio is underneath my seat. And then the microphone just sits perfectly there on the steering wheel adjust lever. So as I'm driving, I can just adjust the radio as need be. And it's just handy right there. Everything's just within arm's reach. Lights. And then when I turn my ignition on, the radio comes on. So I've got my radio programmed for all the walkie-talkie channels, the various environment in Canada weather network.
Chance of flurries in the morning. Winds becoming north 30 kilometers per hour, gusting to 50 in the afternoon. High -4.
I got the speaker down here, and then I got the LAD channels, and then all the resource road channels. So it works out pretty good. I generally just leave it on the walkie-talkie channels, and so that way I'm not interfering with anyone, and it's usually shut off. Here's how I mount up the train horns themselves. Mounted just inside, underneath the skid plate. So I undid the top bolts, and then put the train horns in, and then just the angle and the bend of the plastic holds it up. So for my air compressor, I use a York 210 compressor with the serpentine belt attachment on the clutch. Bracket, there's a company out of the States called Little Manufacturing, or LSMFG. They make brackets and adapters specifically for the GM series trucks. So it worked great. There's an idler pulley in here that you add in, and then you just mount your compressor to the side of the bracket, and you buy a new serpentine belt. They give you the part number for what you need, and I just went to Napa and grabbed it. So I use a chunk of hydraulic hose for the air to cool down. Comes into a set of filters here. Yeah, it's a little messy wiring. I've got to, come summertime when I have time, I'm going to redo everything here again, just because I'm getting tired of all this. All my relays are enclosed in a weather-tight box, so that way they don't get wet and the road grime doesn't get in them. Here's all the cabling going out for my lights. I need to empty out the oil catchment, because you have to keep adding oil to these York compressors, because it's an AC compressor. It's not meant to really compress air, so you get oil in your system. And I have a pressure relief right off the compressor, because in the wintertime sometimes the my check valve here freezes, so you got that to relieve the pressure as an added safety. Yeah, that's my setup on my 2018 Sierra. I got HID lights on the bottom, LED side shooters. I'm actually really happy with the side shooters because they do give a lot of ditch light off. I've had these HID lights for quite a few years now. They were on my old truck. I've put them on my new truck here, and they work fantastic. The one bulb finally burnt out, so I gotta just replace it. Light bar, I got off my brother. He wasn't using it anymore, so I put it on the truck. Mount straight to the headache rack. Works great. You don't get the night blind on front of you. Cell phone booster antenna, and then the radio antenna itself. If you have any questions, feel free to comment. And yeah, it's been suiting me well for 3 years. It's a little update on the truck. It's a little cold to start working on my other projects yet. I'm waiting for it to warm up, and then I can start building a deck on the blue Ford over there.